This clip looks at some calculations involving multiplying and dividing negative numbers. So, what are the rules for this? Well, look at this addition. Minus 3 plus minus 3, well, that is equal to minus 3 subtract 3, which is minus 6. And another way of writing the left-hand side of this equation is to say that 2 lots of minus 3 is minus 6. And on the left we have now an example of the rule that a positive number multiplied by a negative number gives a negative number. Now, the order of multiplication doesn't matter, so this is the same as minus 3 times 2, which is going to still be minus 6. So the rule for a negative number times a positive number should be that it gives a negative number. And that's the rule. If the signs are different, then the result is negative. So what's the rule to apply for multiplying two negative numbers together? Well, for this, let's look at this multiplication table. On the top left of the table, we have these positive numbers, which correspond to a positive number multiplied by a positive number. On the top right of the table, we have these negative numbers, which correspond to a positive number multiplied by a negative number. And on the bottom left of the table, we have these negative numbers, which correspond to the negative numbers multiplied by these positive numbers. And what we have left is some blanks in the bottom right-hand corner, which correspond to a negative number multiplied by a negative number. And we want to find out what these entries should be. Well, let's look at the patterns in the table. If we look across this first row, we're multiplying by 3, and the numbers, the entries in the table, are decreasing by 3 each time. So we're going from 9 to 6 to 3, etc. And on the second row of the table, we're multiplying by 2, and then we're decreasing by 2 each time. So let's look at this first row where we have blanks. Here we're multiplying by minus 1, and we look at the numbers, and they're increasing by 1 each time. So if we want the pattern to continue, they should increase by 1 each time. In this row, we're multiplying by minus 2. We look at the numbers, and they're increasing by 2 each time. So we want the pattern to continue to increase by 2 each time. And the bottom row of the table is multiplying by minus 3, and the numbers increase by 3 each time. So we want the numbers here to increase by 3 each time. That if the pattern continues, we end up with positive numbers in this bottom right corner, which gives the rule that a negative number multiplied by a negative number should be a positive number. And if this rule applies, then all the other rules of arithmetic also apply. So that's the one we should use. And although we haven't mentioned it, the rules for division are the same. If you have dividing things of opposite sign, then the answer is negative. If you're dividing things of the same sign, then the answer is positive. Now let's look at the examples we started with. The first calculation here is minus 5 times 6. Well, we look at the sign first. We've got a negative multiplied by a positive, so the answer is negative. And we've got 5 times 6, which is 30. And the second sum we have 9 divided by minus 3, which is 9 over minus 3. Now look at the signs first. We've got a positive divided by a negative, which are different signs, so the answer is negative. And we've got 9 divided by 3, which is 3. On this third example, minus 3 multiplied by minus 7. Look at the signs first. We've got a negative times a negative, so the answer is positive. 3 times 7, which is 21. The fourth example, we have minus 70 divided by minus 10, which is equal to minus 70 over minus 10. Look at the signs first. We've got a negative divided by a negative, which are the same sign, so the answer is positive. We've got 70 divided by 10, which is 7. In the fifth example, we have the calculation minus 2 times 3 times minus 4. And looking at the signs first, we have minus times a positive, which will give a negative number, and then we have that negative number times another negative number, which will give a positive number. So the overall result is going to be positive. And the number is 2 times 3, which is 6, multiplied by 4, which is 24.